I read 150 books in 2024, and these are the top 10. I can't mention my top list without talking about The Covenant of Water. It is an amazing story about a family in India who thinks that they're cursed in relation to water because many of their relatives have drowned over the years. Overall, this story made me feel so many things. It made me question a lot of other 5-star reviews I've given in the past couple years. Next, we have The Bee Sting. It's essentially just the story of an Irish family, but you get the points of view of the mom, dad, son, and daughter. It was long, but I felt like it was worth it, and I think I will remember it for a long time. Next up is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. It is an incredible coming-of-age story about a young man growing up in Appalachia. The narrator is an incredible character. I couldn't get over how well Barbara Kingsolver managed to make me feel like I was looking straight through the eyes of a teenage boy. This is one of the best books I have read of all time. Moving on into the historical fiction genre, this year I did have two that make my top 10 list. First is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. This is a World War I book about two young men from England who go to fight in the trenches and also happen to be in love with each other. I will reread this book for many years to come. In December of this year, I read 1,000 Splendid Suns. This is the story of two women in Afghanistan who end up married to the same man. The whole brutal history of Afghanistan with the Taliban and all the revolutionary groups that were there before the Taliban. Such a moving story about sisterhood, motherhood, friendship. For sure, one of the best books I've read. I read a couple nonfiction books this year as well, and there was definitely a standout from among them, and that was The Plantagenets by Dan Jones. This book covers one dynasty of British kings called the Plantagenets, who ruled for a large portion of the Middle Ages, and it just was this great sweeping overview of this time period. Highly recommend Dan Jones. I read a lot of fantasy books this year. There were a couple that really hit me right here, and I think deserve to go in the top 10 list. The first one is The Will of the Many. It's Roman-inspired, dark academia. There's a school that the kids are all training at. It was just the right amount of unique. I can't wait to read the second book when it comes out next year. Six of Crows. I had a hard time keeping up with some aspects of the heist, but what was so impressive to me about this book was the characters. I cared about every single character. I cared about every single love story. Can't wait to reread this someday. I'm just waiting until I forget enough of it to come back to it. I have to put Kingdom of Ash into my top 10 list. Emotionally, I was destroyed by this novel. I cried like the whole time, and it's almost 1,000 pages long. Such a satisfying ending. And finally, A Court of Silver Flames. I love Cassian. Some people complain that this book is slow or boring, but I really enjoyed the pacing. I read it twice within the span of like 4 months. That is my top 10 list of the year.